Hey, thanks for joining me, and I really appreciate your time and your attention in watching this video. In it, I'm going to be kind of talking about some sharpness of some lenses that I own, and why that is because I've been a little unsatisfied with the results that I've been getting out of the camera. I've been feeling like the image I've been getting is a little sharp, or it's a little over sharpened, and so I've been messing with the settings in the camera, but I think also that there's kind of an issue with the lenses. So we're going to take a look at a couple different lenses that I have in that particular focal range between 50 and about 85. So it'll be a 50, a 70 off of my 70-200, and the 85, which is currently on the camera. So I think this is probably the most reasonable lens for me to use most often because of the aperture and because of the focal length. But the 70-200 is fantastic. It's a really solid performer. And this 50 I really want to use more, and I really want to kind of dive deep with and really figure out if I want to continue to use 50mm focal length, if I want to kind of let go of that and move to like a 35 is what I use most often. So this is part of the testing for that. And what is interesting about this particular lens is that first off, it's super duper cheap. So this is kind of a test to see if I want to spend a lot more money on that focal length. As a note on the methodology that I've used, I've shot all of these lenses at their widest open aperture, and the zoom that's been done in manual focus on the back of the camera has been at 10 times. So that has been focusing on my eye. So with this 70-200, it is pretty well known as one of Canon's sharpest lenses, and I have really loved it for that, but I really haven't ever used it. And so what I'm kind of trying to think about right now is, do I want to sell it, do I want to keep it? And I feel like what this test is telling me is that I really should probably keep it. Now, the really interesting part to me is that the entire thing seems sharper because it's at f4, and so I might be wanting to use it more because it's at f4 as a maximum aperture, even though I have this other faster glass that you'll be seeing here in a minute, just because it starts at f4 and is sharper at f4, because it can only be at f4. But this 85mm is seriously one of my favorite lenses that I have. I use this thing all the time. I love it. And what I'm really interested in with this is that it does actually get my eyes in focus when you push that AF on button on the back. So I think that's going to prove to be a little bit different than the 50mm, but on this particular lens, it seems to communicate a little bit better with the camera when autofocusing, both during and prior to actually recording video. I think that's really interesting. So, and here we are with the 50mm. So this first clip is autofocused. It's at f1.8. And I really don't like it. I think it's soft, and I think that's because I believe that it autofocused on the tip of my nose, right there, and I think you can see that my eyes and my eyebrows are already dropping off. Then if we wait for the manual focus, I think that because it was manually focused and manually focused on my eye, that it is actually properly in focus, and I really like how it looks much better. And so perhaps this is just an issue with communication with the camera body or something, but I'm going to investigate a little bit more going forward. I think these are the results. I think the 70-200 f4L ISUSM, fantastic lens. I think it appears to me so sharp in this particular video because the video that's being taken is 1080p. I think if it were in 4K, you'd be able to tell a little bit better, but I also think that the f4 is going to make it so that there's literally more in focus because that depth of field is a little bit deeper than something like the f1.8 of the 85 and 50mm both. So I think the 70-200, great lens. Going back and watching the footage again and thinking about it some more, I might just go ahead and sell that, but not super sure on that at this point. I think the 85, which is still on the camera, great lens. I think that when autofocused, it managed to actually pick up my eye instead of the tip of my nose, and for that I don't have an explanation. I'm very impressed, but it seemed a lot sharper in this particular video, in these videos that I've been taking, than in one that I took yesterday, and I don't know why that is. I think the sharpness in camera was turned up too high, and that made me just a little bit, but I think this is a fantastic lens. I really enjoy using this lens. But yeah, let's move on to the 50. I think the 50, it has opportunity to be adequately sharp. I think, like I mentioned with the 7200 and this being 1080p footage, I think that all of these are kind of, I don't want to say suffering, but they're not being used to their maximum potential. The images that I've taken on that 85 are just superbly clear. I haven't had a chance to look at any images out of this 50 because I've only taken video with it, ironically enough. So I'll be investigating that a little bit further, and there should be something that comes out about that in a vlog that's coming. So I'm not sold on this 50. And I think what the result of this test is that perhaps manual focus is better than autofocus in this particular situation, but also that perhaps that 85 is going to be a smarter choice for use in this studio space going forward. And so I want to continue to work and figure out what is actually going to be best to use in this space. Kind of a final note, I keep banging on this 50, but it leaves a lot to be desired. I've consistently noticed that the autofocus for stills does whiff pretty terribly. The first couple of times you gotta give it a couple of times, a couple of tries, and then maybe even check on the back of the camera to make sure that it is actually in focus. Do some of that chimping. So that's kind of all I have. I really appreciate your time and your attention. If you want to talk about the results of this video with me, please don't hesitate to leave a comment. If you agree or disagree with anything that I've done, please go ahead and leave a comment. Like if you enjoyed it, and please don't hesitate to or forget to subscribe. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.